Hello and welcome to this psychology topic video where we're going to look at how to write a model answer for an essay question on the role of the father. So let's imagine this was your essay question: outline and evaluate the role of the father in the development of an attachment, which could be 12 marks if you're an AS student or 16 marks if you're a Year 2 A-level student. Now, you may not have covered this in a huge amount of depth, and the different textbooks go into varying levels of depth on this. So I'll give you a tiny bit of history in terms of what would be included in an essay like this. And it's worth considering two really important things if you was to do a lesson on this. Firstly, how the role of the father has changed in the last 100 years. And when we consider that, traditionally fathers have played a sort of minor role in child rearing practices, and the sort of historical view, and this really is taking sort of a sociological perspective to some degree, is that fathers would go to work and provide resources and would be what we call the breadwinner, while the mothers took care of the children at home. However, of course, society has changed significantly in the last 100 years or so. And really what we need to think now is, what is the role of the father now? And psychologists disagree, and it's this disagreement that will form part of your AO1, because I would say there's three clear views in terms of psychology, in terms of what the role of the father is now. Now, some psychologists argue that men are just not equipped to form attachments, both psychologically and socially, and I'll unpick that a little bit more in a minute. Other psychologists argue that fathers are not there to provide a caregiver role, they're there to provide a more of a playmate role, okay, so they're there for a very different function. And other psychologists actually argue that fathers can demonstrate what they call sensitive responsiveness, where they can respond to the needs of their children and actually form very, very secure father-child attachments, okay? So those are the three different theories. We just need to unpick that first one a little bit more, this idea that men are not equipped psychologically and socially to form attachments, because this is an interesting concept. And if we think about why researchers might make this argument, the first thing is that researchers point to the different hormones in men and women and argue that estrogen underlies caring behaviour. And the lack of estrogen in men means that men are just not equipped biologically to actually form attachments in the same way as females are, okay? On top of that, there are some cultural and social expectations that also sort of shape this role. But what the key argument here from these researchers is that actually just men are not biologically able or equipped enough to form attachments in the same way as women are, okay? Now, let's think about what an outline to this essay might look like. So we've got those three ideas, and really we can draw on all of that to form a really nice, concise introduction. This introduction on screen is 143 words, and that's about perfect for an outline of an essay question, whether it's 12 or 16. So I said, while traditionally the role of the father may have been limited, as fathers would go to work to provide resources and the mothers took care of the children, recently the role of the father has changed significantly. However, psychologists disagree over the exact role of the father. Some researchers claim that men are not simply not equipped to form an attachment, and such psychologists point to biological evidence which suggests that the hormone estrogen underlies caring behaviour in women, and the lack of estrogen in men is why they're unable to form this close attachment. So there's your first theory. Other researchers argue that men do not take on a caregiver role, in fact provide a different role as a playmate, so there's your second theory. And then finally, some researchers argue that fathers can demonstrate what we call sensitive responsiveness and respond to the needs of their children, and therefore can form a strong emotional tie or bond and can form that attachment. So that was my outline, and as you know, I always plan these essays on screen before I tackle them. So that was the outline. I've done that bit first. In terms of evidence, there's a wealth of evidence out there, but the three pieces of evidence that I'm going to draw on. The first one by Geiger, who looks at fathers' play interactions as being more exciting than mothers, and we'll use that as support to one of our theories. I'm then going to look at a study by Hurdy that suggested that fathers are unable to detect low levels of infant distress, and that can be used as support for that biological angle. And then there's a study by Beltsky that suggests that fathers can form secure attachments when they're in intimate, loving marriages themselves, okay? So there's your three evaluation points. I'm going to extend the second evaluation by adding in an issue debate as well on this idea of biological determinism to get our issues and debates in there as well, okay, which is just a nice thing to do. Let's take that first point, the Geiger point. So what we might say here is there is research evidence that provides support for the role of the father as a playmate. Research by Geiger found that fathers' play interactions were more exciting in comparison to mothers. However, the mothers' play interactions were more affectionate and nurturing, and this suggests that the role of the father is in fact as a playmate and not as a sensitive parent who responds to the needs of their children, and also confirms the mother's role as more of a nurturing role. Simple yet effective, and there's our first evaluation point done. Let's look at the second one, and for this one we're going to sort of look how we can add in this idea of biological determinism into this as well. So what we can say here is, furthermore, research evidence also suggests that fathers are not to provide a sensitive and nurturing type of attachment. And it was Hurdy that found that fathers are less able to detect low levels of infant distress in comparison to mothers. And these results appear to support a biological explanation, the one that we highlighted in our introduction. And that the lack of estrogen in men means that they're not equipped biologically to form these attachments, and this provides further evidence to the claim that fathers are not able to provide a sensitive and nurturing type of attachment. Okay. Now we can keep that paragraph exactly as it is, but what we could also do if we wanted to is insert in an issue debate here and say that this research also suggests that the father's role is to some extent biologically determined, and that the father's role is restricted because of their biological makeup. However, as some fathers are able to form close attachments with their children, this suggests that a softer view of determinism may be more appropriate. And that's just a nice way of extending that evaluation to add a bit more depth to this particular answer. Let's consider our third and final paragraph, and this is the Belsky research. And what we can say is, however, research suggests that fathers are able to form close attachments with their children if they're in an intimate and close marriage. And it was Belsky that found that males who reported high levels of marital intimacy also displayed a secure father-infant attachment, whereas males with low levels of marital intimacy displayed insecure father-infant attachments. Okay, and this suggests that males can form secure attachments with their children. However, the strength of the attachment depends on the father and the mother relationship. Okay, there's the entire essay on screen for you now, and you can see the first two paragraphs are our knowledge, our outline, which is worth the 6 marks, and then we've got those 3 evaluation paragraphs, the second one which is extended with that idea of biological determinism as well. Whole essay being about 475 words, which is ideal for an essay if this was a 16-mark question. Okay, hope you found that video useful, and for more future events do check out the Tutor2U Psychology events page. If you've got any questions, do ask us on Twitter or via our Facebook group, or if need be, do drop me an email. And thank you once again for watching. Bye bye now.